this thing rolling? Okay, it's rolling. Right, so today's video, I've got absolute no regrets about making, and neither am I going to apologize to you guys today because I've done enough of that and I feel like I don't need to do it anymore. I owe you nothing. Today I'm going to discuss about ecosystems. I'm going to go let that intro play, and I'm going to go grab a can of Coke and come back down. I'm going to drink some Coke, and I'm going to talk about why I've switched almost entirely to the Apple ecosystem. Okay? No regrets. And of course I've forgotten my Coke, but let's just bring it here, why don't we? There we go. So let's... It is 1:15 a.m. in the morning and I should not be drinking this, but hey, I need something to keep me going, right? I really hope I don't smack that out of the way. Anyway, what's up guys? This is Kyle24 back at your screens, and yes, I am now almost exclusively using Apple products. So I'm going to list them again just because I have fun listing my Apple products. I've got the iPhone, I've got the Mac Mini, I've got the MacBook Air, and I've got this Apple Watch. I also have a iPad Mini, but it's very old. It's like the iPad Mini 2 with Retina display or something like that. It's really old, so I don't even use that anymore. But I've still got it. It's an Apple device. Anyway, as a content creator, there are a couple of things that are essential for me. Number one is having a good workflow. This is probably the most important thing, is I need a good workflow. I have a full-time job and I do this on the side, so I need to have a good workflow with all my content creation work so that I can juggle both my full-time job and everything else that I do, as well as spending time with my family, which is, again, very important. And to do all of this, I need to have easy access to all my projects, all my files, wherever I go, whenever I want. And not only that, that everything just needs to be in one place. I need to be able to just kind of open something and it should just be there for me, without me having to kind of dig for it. And this leads on to the next thing as well that I really find is important for me as a content creator, and it's the ability to work on the go. So not only accessing things on the go, but just, doing my work on the go wherever I can. Previously, this wasn't so much of an issue with lockdown because, well, I was staying at home all the time. But now with lockdown here in the UK ending, it's becoming more and more of a thing that I need to be able to work wherever I can work. Now the question is, before I switched to the Apple ecosystem, was I lacking any of these things? Was this a big issue for me? I was an Android and a Windows user. Like, it's a combination ecosystem, right? You don't get a pure Samsung ecosystem. Samsung doesn't have their own kind of OS for PCs, even though they're really pushing their Samsung decks. It's not really a replacement for a full PC OS. Anyway, that being said, I mostly had Samsung smart devices and a Windows laptop and PC. Now, was I lacking any of the things that I mentioned? Well, honest answer is no, I wasn't. So you may ask, then why did I feel the need to switch to Apple? What was lacking so much that made me switch? And there's a couple of reasons for that. But before that, let me say one thing in regards to ecosystems. When you're invested in a particular ecosystem, like I was, I had all Samsung devices. For a while, it was all Huawei devices, actually. And Windows, I used my entire life. I'd never used a Mac before. It has to be something pretty big that makes you switch. Like, it's got to be something very big, a very good reason that makes you switch from a well-established ecosystem that you're well vested in into something completely different. And to be very honest, the Samsung ecosystem, or for the greater part, an Android Windows hybrid ecosystem that I was so invested in, it wasn't bad, like, at all. Like, I'd been using it for years and it was working to a certain degree. It was working, I was using it and I was getting along with it. I had a pretty decent workflow. I could access all my kind of files thanks to apps like OneDrive. Mind you, I still use OneDrive, but the point is that I could access everything wherever I went on all my devices. And for the most part, I was getting a lot of work done, or I could get some of my work done wherever I went as well on most of my devices. But these were only true for majority of my non-content creation work, and maybe it's very light creation works, things like editing, photo editing in Lightroom, or making thumbnails. None of the heavy stuff, none of the things that really affected my workflow, like, video editing being the main thing. And so there was actually something lacking there that was affecting my workflow and efficiency. And I needed a more efficient way of kind of getting all my things done, and I just wasn't getting it. I felt like I wasn't getting it. And this is where the Apple ecosystem pretty much saves the day, to be honest. Now, there's something that I do want to clarify before I move on, and that's that I don't recognize either ecosystem or either set of devices to be bad at all in any way whatsoever. Like, what I was using is still very, very good. It worked, it did the job. However, there were a few things lacking for me. The new ecosystem is working better for me. Does that mean that the old one is bad? No. It just means that the new one is slightly working better for my own needs. So it kind of all boils down to what you need your ecosystem to do for you. Now, as a content creator, I have a heavy focus on social media and, well, content creation, editing videos, shooting videos, filming, editing, posting on social media, all of those kind of things. And this is where the Apple's ecosystem kind of thrives. The first thing that I want to discuss in relation to this is the optimization of its apps and systems. The clear winner in this aspect for me is Apple. Now, that's pretty much always been the case. And I mentioned this when I was talking about iPhones and how they're better for posting on social media through the apps, because iPhones let the social media apps like Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok access the camera directly rather than taking a screen grab, which is what Android phones do or Android devices do. So in this aspect of social media, design work, content creation, Apple has always had a slight edge to its competition. Now, even in the past, performance difference wise, Apple versus Windows and Android machines have been somewhat neck to neck. Like, with Apple having the lead in some aspects, Windows and Android having the lead in other aspects. However, that will change with the new M1 chip that Apple have brought out. And since then, Apple have kind of excelled and flown ahead in this category of kind of device optimization, if you want to call it that. Now, I already spoke about my problem with editing videos in a previous one of my videos, and how the software that I was using was not well enough optimized on the machines that I had, which is why I ended up buying a Mac Mini, and now I've got the MacBook Air. So neither my PC nor my laptop were handling the kind of video editing that I needed to do. Well, they weren't handling it very well. You could just about get it done, but it would take forever, and the lag, and it was killing me and all of that. And I was kind of getting depressed and upset and annoyed and angry, and the anger was boiling up inside of me. And I'm going to stop talking now because I'm remembering all those memories and it's very bad. And so yes, getting the Mac Mini pretty much solved that problem for me, and more so getting the MacBook Air as well. And the main reason behind this is the M1 chip. And it's so amazing. It means that all of my heavy duty content creation work, like editing videos in DaVinci Resolve, editing photos in Lightroom, creating thumbnails in my Affinity apps, it can be done wherever I am and without facing any of that lag or frustration or performance issues that I was getting with my other devices. And so basically the M1 chip is amazing, and it's optimized the performance of the hardware on all of these devices, as well as the software compatibility of apps that are run on these devices so much that even the base model of the devices, like the base model Mac Mini and the base model MacBook Air that I've got, can handle all of the heaviest jobs for me, all the heaviest jobs that my old PC and laptop were struggling to do even the smallest amounts of. And this means that automatically my workflow has improved massively. It means I can complete my projects faster, do more in less time, and with less stress. And this is the same for accessing files. Though, to be honest, this was never a problem for me because I always use OneDrive as my kind of file storage solution of choice. And I'm still using OneDrive for pretty much storing all of my folders. And so not much has changed there. It's still handy having almost instant access to photos and videos that I've taken on my phone in a dedicated app across all of my devices, rather than through a folder hidden deep in the abyss of my OneDrive folder somewhere that takes ages for me to kind of go and find. And yes, I mean the photo app that Apple have on pretty much every single one of their devices. Not to mention the iCloud storage means that I've now got an additional form of storage which I can kind of instantly access my documents and files through. Though I'm not a big fan of having to pay for it, it's still there and it's still handy. And again, like I said, this all means that I can work even more efficiently while I'm on the move, which is becoming kind of more of a thing with the lockdown having ended, and you know, my job requiring me to go to work a lot more, so I can kind of do things during my breaks, and as well as extra projects that I'm working on requiring me to potentially kind of travel around a bit. Now, the second thing that really sold me on the ecosystem is the cost performance reward. Now, there are probably devices out there that can perform almost as good as Apple's new M1 devices. I say almost because I've not really had a chance to test this, but I'm pretty sure through reviews and kind of other videos I've seen, they do exist. I know some of the Razer laptops and some of the newer Samsung laptops are able to dish out really high performance tasks and do great with things like video editing, but the prices for these are far higher than the base model versions of the devices that Apple are offering. So basically what I'm saying is that I've spent less on each Mac device than I would have done if I were to seek out a Windows laptop or PC that gave me the same level of performance as the Mac Mini and the MacBook Air are giving me. Like, I sold my 1,800, almost 2,000 pound PC because it wasn't giving me the same level of performance as an 900 pound Mac device was giving me. Does that make sense? And this is all due to the M1 chip. Now, do Apple create reasons for you to spend additional monies to get certain things that you would otherwise consider a bog standard in the industry? Probably, yes, but that's a whole different video. So I'm not going to touch on that. The basis of it is that with Apple's devices, you can spend less on the base versions of their Macs, of their devices, and you're still going to get exceptional performance, which is pretty much one of the biggest selling points for me. And the other thing is, Mac and Apple devices do last a long time. I know people who have been using MacBooks and Macs for years and they're still getting pretty much the same kind of performance as they did day one. Now, the last thing is that the ecosystem itself is actually just that. It is a very nicely put together, tight, well-established ecosystem made to work well across all of its devices, with each device essentially speaking to each other, and it all kind of just makes your life easier. A small example of this I've already given is the photo app. You've got it on all of your devices. It syncs all of your photos and videos absolutely perfectly, without you having to go and dig through or install third-party apps to get you to do the same thing. So Apple has made it so that all of its devices just kind of work well together. Now, that doesn't mean that the other ecosystems aren't good. They are, but they are created in a way that rely more on software than anything else. Samsung doesn't have its own true ecosystem. It doesn't have its own operating system for laptops. It doesn't have its own kind of PC operating system. No other company has that. Okay, Mac has its own OS for laptops. Huawei were developing something similar, but that kind of got shut down. Samsung are kind of getting there with their DeX, but it's still not the same thing. For example, you can use a Huawei phone, a Samsung tablet, and a Windows machine all together. You can download a few apps or some software that basically lets you sync all of your files, photos, apps together. But that's just the point. You have to do it through third-party apps and software. It's not just there for you. Only recently has Samsung started to kind of, integrate its apps to work well together across its ecosystem and across its devices. But even then, it's still not 100%. Because, for example, with the photo app that Samsung have, they're running that through OneDrive. Everything is getting saved on OneDrive and then synced across to the next photo app that you're signed into on the different device. Whereas with Apple, it's all just through the same app. There's no third-party service. Apple does it all themselves, and it gives better control of everything, making it all work flawlessly together. And to me, that's becoming essential. The older I get, the more I need things to be just there for me, where I need it, when I need it, when I need it, where I need it, whatever order you want to put that in. I just need it there for me, basically. The younger me would probably have thought and bothered to string together different systems and make apps work well together, make the devices sync nicely together. I just don't have the time for that. I don't have the time, patience, energy to make all of that work. The older I am now, I just don't have the time. I just want everything to just work without putting a lot of effort into it. And that should give you a very good indication of the kind of target audience that Apple have, the kind of consumer that Apple are targeting. It's very clever. Anyway, I've rambled on enough now. Basically, I've used and loved both sets of devices, both sets of ecosystems, both sets of device families. However, as things are, as a content creator with a need for better efficiency and speed, Apple is just doing a better job for me, especially with the M1 machines and how well they're working. And things with Apple's new silicon chip are only going to get better. Workflow and efficiency for content creators who are using the Apple ecosystem is about to get a whole lot better with things like the M1 iPad Pro and the iMacs, should they choose to purchase them. Unfortunately, it's unlikely I'm going to get either the iPad Pro or the iMac anytime soon. However, you never know. Never say never. Oh, the one exception to my massive switch to Apple is the Galaxy Tab S7, which I am still using. Seeing as I only recently got it, and the things that I use it for, such as kind of Lightroom editing, watching YouTube videos, watching Netflix, reading stuff, researching, whatever, it doesn't really need that intense integration with the rest of my devices. It still remains kind of one of the devices that I use the most on a day-to-day basis, and it doesn't give me any issues. So that's probably the one thing I'm not going to be changing anytime soon. And with that, I will be leaving you guys to it. Let me know in the comments which ecosystem or device family you guys use. It's always great to hear from you guys, your opinions, your comments on the subject matter. I hope you guys found the video useful and it gave you an indication or an idea, especially if you're in two minds, of whether you should switch ecosystems or not, or which ecosystem to go with if you're completely new to this. And remember, it's really based on your kind of particular personal needs as a consumer or as a creator. If you did enjoy the video, make sure you hit that like button and that subscribe button if you want to see more of the same. And if you want to know exactly when my new videos are coming out, then hit that notification bell. It will tell you exactly when I upload, and that's usually every single Wednesday, usually. Until next time, guys, I'm going to leave you to it. This is Kai24 signing out. And switching ecosystems is actually kind of sad. I'm going to be selling my Galaxy S20 Ultra soon because I've got the iPhone now. I'm still not going to get rid of these. These are my Galaxy Buds. They're fantastic, and if you've ever seen these in any of my photos, this is fake. These AirPod, that's what they're called. AirPod Pros are actually fake. I've got the kind of old iPad mini, which I don't actually use anymore. And here we've got my Galaxy Tab S7, which is still fantastic, still being used every day. And then again, my Huawei laptop, which I'm probably going to be either selling or giving away. I don't know, I haven't decided yet. Might keep it around because having a Windows machine is actually kind of handy. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet. And yeah, then I've got my nice new trusty MacBook Air review coming soon. Felt like a news reporter there. Anyways, I'm gonna go enjoy the rest of my Coke. Adios, guys.